the Southbury Board of Selectmen meeting, regular meeting, April 18th, 2024, to order at 7 p.m. And if we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is public comment. If there's any public comment, if you would come to the front and state your name and where you live, and we'll take your public comment.
Now it's on, okay. I'm Joe Ruggiero from, I live at 245 Skyview Drive, but this letter actually comes from me as president of the Land Trust and on behalf of a unanimous board of directors of the Land Trust. Recently, Southbury Land Trust has received questions regarding assertions in a letter to the editors submitted by Sharon Wirt, president of the Southbury Affordable Housing Alliance. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the SLT to correct the record. Ms. Wirt wrote, about 55% of all Southbury's land is open green space, twice the ideal for rural ambiance. The truth is that only 21.1% of the town currently is protected open space as defined in Southbury's POCD, which is the Land Use Bible. Southbury's current land use goal is to preserve 25% of its land as permanent open space by the year 2035. The Land Trust continues to help achieve that goal. For decades, the Land Trust has collaborated with town land use boards and regional nonprofits to identify our most critical properties, and our priorities mirror both town and regional goals. However, while acreage percentages are a useful guide, the Land Trust core focuses on land and with strategic value in a big picture, preserving links to existing conservation land, conserving local watershed basins, protecting agriculture and farmland soils, and parcels with historic and archaeological value. With so many land use needs facing Southbury and our region, it is important not to fall into a trap of creating false competition between different worthy causes. Our region faces an affordable housing shortage, and Southbury Land Trust does not oppose affordable housing in our town. Quite the opposite. Through methods like adaptive reuse of existing residential and commercial parcels, along with the creation of mixed-use dwellings like apartments above stores and businesses, more sustainable, affordable housing can be created without destroying open space. Turf wars won't solve the problem. Let's work toward a common ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll close that part of our agenda. You have your announcements and correspondence in front of you. I would encourage anybody who could possibly make the Arbor Day from Board of Selectmen. We would like to see you there, if possible. You have your staff reports. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tim. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next is minutes of April 4th, 2024 regular meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Greg.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tim. Any discussion on the minutes of April 4th, 2024 regular meeting? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And it carries. Okay. Unfinished business, the charter revision. So far, we have only received like 4 people interested. I don't know what that's about, so I'd like to keep that open. I'd like to put out another e-blast and on our Facebook and social media, and anybody who's listening, it doesn't mean that if 100 people asked to be on there will be on there. but we'd like to have a bigger selection than 4 people. So if that, with the indulgence of the board, that we could keep that open a while longer, at least see how we do by the next meeting, or after, run around.
I agree with that.
That's a short
Yep.
list, 4 people.
Yep.
Justin, do you agree?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Jason?
It makes sense to me. I would keep it open.
Okay. I don't think we need to vote on it. I think we can just do that. Police hiring process. How many, Betsy? 29. 29 applications have come in. So we have a list. I have not had the time to take a look at it. Is there any pleasure to take a vote tonight or at this meeting? The people we were looking for on the group, the first group, have agreed, are willing to participate in the original screening of the process. So that's, I don't know what the pleasure of the board would be right tonight. Want to bring it up at the next meeting? It just got closed.
Yeah,
I don't think the board here wants to look through 29.
let's wait for Holly.
Okay,
We're all here unanimously, and I don't
okay.
think waiting another.
Wasn't there something set up with you and Dan Colton and Justin to screen them ahead of time and then?
Yeah, that
bring 'em
was
to
the original intent.
selectmen?
I mean, if we only had 10, we would send it right to the Board of Selectmen for review. But I think with 29, I think we can get the group together. But we haven't voted on that, so I don't know how Justin and Jason feel on that, if you'd like to comment on that.
Justin here. I'm happy to create that subcommittee to review the resumes that we've received at this point tonight.
Okay. So
Yeah, this is Jason.
Go ahead, Jason.
And there's a bit of an echo, so
Wait a minute, Jason. Try that.
to try now. Yeah, that's much better. At this point, I wouldn't delay too much in going over the initial review because we do sort of have that July 1 target date. So I would start going through the process we had set up since we got 29. I mean, one of my comments when we initially talked about this was, you know, if we only got 5 or 10 applications, then perhaps we would follow a different process. But since we have close to 30, I think it does make sense to go through a process of weeding it out initially and then creating a group to interview initial applicants and then a certain number of applicants coming back to the Board of Selectmen. I don't think we need to decide tonight how many applicants the Board of Selectmen wants to see or what the final stages of that process would look like. But I think we should probably get going on the rest of the process.
Okay, so I do want to be careful about how we proceed with that because we need to do it correctly so that in discussing, Jason, you can chime in on this, that it has to be, you're supposed to have some confidentiality about this. So let me get that to our labor attorney, and meanwhile, I'll get this correctly orchestrated so that we can have the meetings to go over this, because this would be, if not, there's a technicality of it becoming public, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we certainly don't want the interviews or whatnot to be public, so.
Correct.
But I think you can start your like internal review and, you know, initial review of applicants, and we could always have a special meeting too if we have to vote on some process, if that's what's required. We don't want to do anything that'll delay the process.
Right, and if that's a special meeting, that would be the only thing on the agenda, and we should be able to get a quorum, even if it's via remote, to come up with that. So I'll work on that. have the staff work on that and get that formed up and ready. Tim, you look like you have a question.
Yeah, I just don't want to move on from unfinished business because there's a number of topics and discussion that we've had in prior meetings, and I don't see any of that on this. And being the newbie, I'm not really sure if you're going to go over it on your selectman report or if it should be added under unfinished business. And I'd like updates on a few things. River Road, Purchase Brook, affordable housing, the pool, and the bridle path.
Okay, so if during my report you want to ask what's going on, I'll answer during my, I think that'll be
Very
take care
good.
of that. Which is up, which will be up next on my report. There's been some talk about grants. So our department heads worked diligently with our finance department to secure state and federal grants. When making large purchases or funding extensive projects, we investigate the possibility of using grant money first. These grants enable us to purchase equipment, upgrades, vehicles, secure funding for expensive culvert and bridge repairs, expand recreation through trails and connectivity grants, amongst many other uses. I would like to thank our department heads who work diligently searching for and fill out tedious applications to obtain grant money for the town. Several of the grants we recently received were in our emergency management, senior center, and public works departments. First, emergency management grants. The State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, try that, has recently awarded the town of Southbury an EMPG grant funds for fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 23 totaling $20,708.80. We anticipate that we will be receiving $9,785 for the award for the 2022 grant soon. Southbury Emergency Management Director Stephen Schnell is currently in the process of applying for the EMPG 23 competitive pool funding of $25,000, which is designated for upgrades to the town of Southbury's Emergency Operations Center. Also, the Senior Center grants, we have pictures of the senior bus. Do we, Betsy? Okay, the town purchased a new senior bus last week thanks to a grant we received in the amount of $133,225. With all the programming the senior center has planned, I'm sure it will get plenty of use. Our Senior Services Director, Andrea Cochran, is also completing this year's MPG grant for our Dial-A-Ride program, and this grant will bring in a total of $14,000 per quarter to run buses to Danbury and Waterbury for senior medical transportation. Public Works grant funds are being used for several culvert projects in town. In addition to 2023 STEEP grant funding will be used to make the proposed improvements to the Southbury Transfer Station. Update on the Route 6 Bridle Path crosswalk. I met out there, we met Monday. I met with the Connecticut DOT and the DEEP at the Larkin Bridle Trail to discuss potential improvement to the trail path and the crosswalk on Route 67. The trail and Route 67 are both owned and maintained by the state. The town of Southbury and the state are partnering together to evaluate, fund, and implement appropriate upgrades. The state is requiring further studies be conducted at the site to determine if blinking lights are appropriate for the crosswalk. They brought that up to me, that they want to study this to make sure this is the right repair to this area. They're also talking about possibly putting in a place to park horse trailers. I discussed that with them. It's kind of a tough place to trailers pulling out onto 67. You know, I've been looking at exit 15. It's the head of the Larkin Trail, that maybe we can work with the state to get a place, get in there, because we can't even park a car by that entrance to the trail. There's no place. So maybe we can make a safer, better place, and they can make a study this to do the right thing on that trail. They're a little concerned, DOT, I think, is concerned that there's been no accidents there, that a light, as I had said, could be a false, that you're safe. And frankly, I walked across, and the car that, wasn't a car that stopped. I will say publicly, it was a professional driver, it was O&G's truck, and that person got stopped. They knew, they pay, the commercial drivers pay attention, and it was nice to see that they're safe drivers.
Did they give you any kind of time frame, Jeff, on those studies?
They have not. I just met out there Monday, and they've got to put their study together, and we're working with DOT person, DEP person, and myself. They're going to come up with what they think. One of the things is, if you see in the lower left, as I was talking a little bit with you before, Tim, the slope there, if you have a horse and you come up, the horse is trying to get up the hill, and if that was platformed somewhat flat, so the person could either get off the horse comfortably, not falling down the hill, that may be something that, depending on the horses are different. But they also need to do is figure out, they need to keep these as the slopes as, if they can conform to ADA. So there's a slope, not just put the platform, and I didn't understand, they explained they need to make sure that slope. So they're gonna do a little studying there, and then they're gonna study, they said there's been no accidents, so they're gonna work on that. New swimming pool news, the town of Southbury received State Department of Public Health approval for the proposed swimming pool plans. Bid openings for, we got the plans on April 1st. We got approval. Bid openings for the pool will take place at the town hall tomorrow at 10 a.m. There was always the question, we had health department approval for our septic being reused and everything. We were waiting for the state. So that was a concern on that end. Police Department news, Officer DeSanto graduates the police academy, and I was not able to attend. Congratulations to Officer DeSanto, the Southbury latest Connecticut Police Academy graduate. We wish you well as you embark on your career as a Southbury police officer. I feel like all I do is interview and hire police officers. Which leads us to Cones with Cops, which was another wonderful, our wonderful officers, and what they're doing in our community. On Tuesday, April 17th, Southbury police officers participated in a community event called Cones with Cops at local ice cream shop Scoopin'. Police Sergeant Chris Garillo commented that the feedback from the children and parents was nothing but praise and support for our officers. He expressed his thanks to the police department staff and officers. Your efforts in giving back to the community are what makes this department so great. Events like this foster trust and legitimacy amongst our residents and continue to strengthen public support. Your commitment to this town reaches far beyond just making children happy. I would like to thank our police officers and PD staff for all they do to support our community and keeping our Southbury residents safe. It's really nice to see this community, these police, they do a great job, and they're well received by our community. And the PDs also team up with our senior services. Yesterday, Officer Armino, Liz, there's two Arminos, teamed up with our senior services team to present Don't Get Scammed to senior center members. Officer Armino provided essential information regarding the potential risk of online and telephone frauds. Scammers often target older adults, therefore they need to be particularly mindful of potential risk to their life savings. The event was well attended and is another example of town efforts to protect our residents. You know, we all think we know how to prevent scams, but even those of us who think we know, it's pay attention, pay attention. The Community Relation Task Force is accepting applications from high school juniors to join their task force during their senior year. This is a fantastic opportunity for a student to learn about and contribute to local government and have a voice in their community. A special thanks to Gabby Lenardi, who has served as CRTF's most recent student representative. Again, Public Safety Day. All of our firemen, ambulance, our police, and emergency management. Reminder that Public Safety Day takes place this Sunday, April 21st, from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Southbury Center Firehouse, located at 461 Main Street South. And you can get the full list of details on our website. That's a lot of fun. Sometimes they'll ask a bystanding selectman if they want to, I don't know if they're going to extricate a car or not, maybe not, but it's always fun to be there. Arbor Day. Southbury Arbor Day celebration will start at 9 a.m. April 26th at Lakeside Park on Scout Road. The event, sponsored by the Southbury Historical Tree Restoration Committee, will celebrate our 26th consecutive Tree City USA Award and the 3 new shade trees planted at Lakeside Park by our Public Works Department. The Historical Tree Committee will continue the tradition of providing Fraser fir saplings and conducting an Arbor Day presentation via Zoom to all Region 15 students. So if you'd like to come down, see the nice trees they've got planted, and hopefully they will develop into very large shade trees in the future. I have a memo here from our Emergency Management Director, Stephen Schnell, First Selectman Manville. The Emergency Management Performance Grant is a yearly federal grant program from FEMA that provides funding assistance to states for eligible emergency management costs. The Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection serves as the state administrative agent and the state's eligible application for EMPG funds. Yearly, DEMAS complies with an EMPG work plan that details the use of EMPG funds to meet annual and long-term goals and objectives. The state allocates a percentage of the total federal allocation to local municipalities for eligible costs. The EMPG state and local assistance program provide funding through a matching reimbursement program to communities for eligible personnel, training, equipment, operational expenses related to their emergency management program. Local emergency management offices are eligible to apply for state and local assistance funding. In order to participate in the EMPG SLA program, municipalities must meet the following criteria: have an officially appointed emergency management director, have a local emergency management operation plan, which is called LEOP, updated every 2 years and signed by the emergency management director and chief executive officer of that jurisdiction, participate in the state DEMAS high band radio system, including participating in the quarterly high band radio test with our respective DEMAS regional office, participate in the web EOC system, and EMDs must provide 24-hour contact information to their prospective DEMAS regional coordinators to facilitate emergency situations, reporting, and coordination of requests for state assistance. And they must also participate in the annual EPPI exercise conducted by DEMIS. The Southbury Emergency Management Office has applied for the EMPG for fiscal years 2021, 22, and 23. We are currently in the process of applying for the EMPG fiscal year 2023 competitive pool funding for $25,000, which is designated for upgrades for Town of Southbury Emergency Operations Center. The State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management, Homeland Security has recently awarded the Town of Southbury the EMPG grant 2021, on and on. What I'm getting at here is, in order to be eligible for these grants, you must be active. I guess there are actually some towns that have not remained active and they're not eligible for these grants, which I know a lot of people take it basically for granted.
No pun intended.
When it's blue skies and it's nice, but let me tell you, I shudder every time there's a thunderstorm, and when it hits the fan, we need to be ready, and we have to provide that for our citizens, so.
So there's been talk of having a grant writer in Southbury, and I know the Finance Commission has brought it up in some of their discussions. Why don't we have one?
So is the Board of Finance asked why we don't have a grant searcher. And we don't have a grant searcher, but we have a lot of grants that we look for. And I've discussed this with some people, and that grant searchers look for the grants, and I'd like to see if we can, we get a lot of grants, which is, we're writing the grants with it, when we get the grant in, Steve our emergency management director will write the grant to apply for it. If it's the senior center, I will have Andrea, our senior services director, write the grant. My office has written the trail grant with SLR, who knows how to apply for that grant. It's a little complicated, so we used our on-call engineers to do that. I'm going to look into see if we can find a grant searcher that, we don't have a full-time position for a grant searcher, but could we, and how does it work? And I actually have talked to people today about that, see if we can get that going and see if we can get into it. River Road, we do not have the engineering ready to decide what is to do with River Road, so we're still waiting for that. I'm hoping by the next meeting we have something about what we can do there. Spruce Brook Road, we just signed the contracts because the bid was awarded here. Some contracts have been signed. We've met to exchange all the paperwork, and that means that now they can order the, you have to order the culverts from United Concrete. You get into their queue to build that, and we should be moving on that, getting ready to go on that this summer.
And that's Dayton Construction, okay.
I'm sorry?
That's Dayton Construction?
Yeah, they were awarded the bid. They were awarded the bid.
The other thing, affordable housing, workforce housing. Back on March 1st, Jordan in the planning department did send a memorandum about the Planning Commission and the report on Affordable Housing Subcommittee requesting that the language for the Special Act number 13-23 be amended. In his memorandum, he says it's the opinion of the Planning Commission based on the current needs of affordable housing and senior housing throughout Southbury that a property and development of the size of the Personnel Village and the Southbury Training School would allow the town to make significant strides in correcting the current housing inequities and increase affordable housing stock. Additionally, the lack of state funding for senior-only housing was one of the major hurdles. On February 20th, the Planning Commission voted to request the Board of Selectmen approve language change and work with the town council and state representatives to amend the language of the special act from senior housing to multi-generational housing. Why haven't we acted on that?
Number one, we don't, and that is, they're asking, we took at the last meeting, we did not vote to act on that. We are currently needing to review what that would mean, should we, the Board of Selectmen need some information on what that would mean if that language was changed, is that, what that would mean and what the exposure the town would have. We also know that we weren't going to make it in time for this legislative session. So we do have time before the next full session. We have time to study that, and until then, we should proceed carefully with deciding that there's going to be just changing that language which was proposed. So I am currently working with COG and with emails back and forth with the subcommittee.
Okay, in the meetings, though, I guess Jordan was supposed to be going to COG. I'm not really sure what they're gonna be able to tell us. We all know that there's definitely an affordable housing crisis nationwide. All other towns around us have acted on this, and Southbury, for some reason, is lagging. I believe it's needed. I think we should really vote on amending the language to it and get
Okay,
it
so
rolling.
Yeah, that's my report, is right now, we are finding out what that language change, I need to know what that language change will mean going forward. Is it mean that you're going to get subsidized low-income housing there? That's what the money's available. That was what the change, my understanding, would mean. And I think we need to let the people of Southbury know what that language change will mean, because we really don't know what that language change of changing from senior housing to multi-generational, what that actually will mean in the state statute and what that will mean to the town and to the state. We
What
don't
difference,
know.
what difference does it make? Right now, anybody can come into town and put in
Welcome to
low-income
your
housing
opinion,
if they
but-
want to.
You're welcome to your opinion.
It's the
but
truth. It's the truth. They can
Okay.
come in.
That's my report.
Okay.
Next up is reports from liaisons. Selectman Betty?
None of my groups have met since the last meeting. I do expect the pool committee will meet next week now that the bids are coming in. And IPOC meets first week of May.
Thank
That's it.
you. Thank you, Justin. Selectman Bucksbaum?
Sure, library board met last week. Sorry, there's just a big echo. The Friends of the Library book sale is going to be in 2 weeks, May 2nd to the 5th. A couple other things, the town's 350th quilt that's going around town is currently on display in the library, and it'll be there for a couple more weeks. The big thing that the library is planning is coming up on May 18th. They're going to have an open house. Plans are in the works. They're anticipating having a food truck, music, arts and crafts, some other activities, and a dedication for a painting and a reading by the poet laureate. So that is shaping up to be a nice event, and there'll be more information as things come out about that. And then the only other thing is they've started the last couple of meetings talking about something called Library of Things. A lot of other towns have this, where it's not just books and whatnot that are being rented out, but items. And they're starting to explore that and what that might look like and what items they might start with to expand that. So that's the library. No other. My other boards didn't meet, but just going back to something mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, I'll just make a plug for Charter Revision Commission. I served on the Charter Revision Commission. It's a very rewarding experience. It's the governing document of our town. It's a very interesting process, so I'd encourage residents who might be interested to send in a letter and let your interest be known and try and get involved in that process. And that's all I have.
So for those who are remote, you can actually scold us to remind us to shut our microphones. That's where the echo's coming through. And I want to, Jason, just to let you know, you keeping, no LEPC seems like it's a little dry to go and do that all the time, but one of the reasons we're able to get a grant was because we have been active. Some municipalities have not been active, and I guess they can't get in on that. So don't give up the ship. I know it's a little bit of a job. Greg?
Yep, Energy Task Force, they canceled this month's meeting, and although I wasn't able to make the Senior Commission meeting, I did communicate out with the Chair and Senior Services Director, and either did not have anything additional to pass along for this meeting tonight, so that's what we have for this month.
Holly out there. Holly Sullivan, Selectman? Not here, okay. All right. I guess that concludes our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Wait.
No, I still have a few things that I have Conservation Commission.
Oh,
Community
I'm
Task
sorry.
Force. Both the Conservation Commission and Community Task Force meet next week. The Park and Rec Commission, a lot going on there. All spring sports started last week. Lacrosse numbers were up considerable. Spring camp started. The Adventure Day camp and pre-camp is half full right now. So if people want to get into any spring camps, they should sign up. Aquatic pool membership. The summer pool passes are on schedule to be available in 2 weeks. Swim lessons have several sign-ups. They have not even advertised yet. The rentals for pickleball court and tennis court is now online. You can register online. It's opened. It's $2 for residents to reserve the pickleball court. Non-residents to reserve is $6. Pavilion rentals are going well well this year. Every Saturday in July is reserved, and the months are filling up as well. There's a special event, Art in the Park, it's ramping up. It's going to be held on May 11th from 10 to 2, and they have a sensory-friendly hour that'll be held between 10 and 11. The park department says make sure if you're going, they're going to have things like make your own slime, a tie-dye station, and recreational field games. Middlebury Southbury Equity and Inclusion Council is offering a card-making station, bird gliders, pinwheel making, and the Arts and Culture Subcommittee is offering painting on easels, tabletop painting, and tissue paper flower crafts. There'll be 2 food trucks, Lucky Hot Dog and the Solar Sweets. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can email Lexi at Park and Rec by Friday tomorrow. Spring Extravaganza wrapped up. It was a huge success. And you've already informed us that the bids for the Southbury Town Pool were due on the 18th. I guess 16 companies joined the walk through the week for when the bids went out. Pool season will not be affected by the construction. And facilities, Charlie met with Blake to discuss a lot of the hazards and other topics, including the ownership and repair responsibility of the parks between our Park and Rec and individual leagues. At the meeting, Charlie Rosa did express gratitude, and I will concur with him that Blake has achieved the most that we've seen in years, and that he and his team are doing an amazing job. You look around at all the parks, and I think they've really shaped up, and they're doing a fantastic job. That's all I have.
The weather has enabled Public Works to get a lot of other things done. I'm not sure this weather's really good for a lot of other things, but they've been able to get on to a number of projects, which is, I will say this, everybody thinks, you know, I was talking to someone about the banners and the flags and the banners that are gonna go up and everything that goes along with that. We are not overstaffed to get this work done, so, you know, when you add more things, there's other things to be done. But yeah, they did a great job down on Seaman Park, that's,
Yeah, that looks fantastic, the footbridge going over there, and Settlers looks awesome, too. One other thing, they are looking for volunteers for Art in the Park, so if anybody does want to volunteer for that, that's going to be on May 11th, you can contact Park and Rec Lexi, or actually Michelle Rosen, who's one of the commissioners.
I hope it doesn't rain. It's unbelievable. Okay, and Holly is no report. A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Come on, guys.
So moved. Let's sit here.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.